Hello, and welcome to another edition of Coffee Talk with immigration attorney Brian D. Lerner. So, as I'm sure you know, Trump issued another executive order to try to limit all immigration for the next 60 days. And I have lots of clients calling and people wondering if it's going to affect them, what's going to happen, how this is going to work. Should they stop doing what they're doing? Will their relatives be able to come in? And so forth. So, first of all, let's look at the order for what it is. Um, it is Trump trying to deflect from essentially the poor job he has been doing in the pandemic and trying to shift blame to immigrants. His explanation as to why he's doing it in the first place makes no sense, that it's to protect jobs of Americans. It just doesn't make sense because, first of all, a third of the people at the front line, that's 30% of the people at the front line, the nurses, the essential workers, are immigrants. And secondly, if, of course, people are coming in as new green card holders and so forth, they are not going to take away from a job which a U.S. citizen or someone here may already have had, because if that job exists, is going to be given back to them. It's not going to be given to someone else. And thirdly, because of the contraction of the economy and because a lot of jobs are going to be lost, people coming in are not going to be able to take new jobs because new jobs are not being created. They are being contracted and lost. So, as usual, the logic just doesn't flow from why he wants it. Now, secondly, the particular reason or the particular path upon which it's going to work, a lot of it is already in effect right now because of the virus. For example, essentially most of the consulates are already closed and not issuing non-immigrant visas or allowing people in, merely because the virus is here. Planes don't, hardly travel. People just don't aren't able to move from one place to another. So essentially, there's nothing that's really changed by issuing the order other than the perception that he is being hard on immigration. So let's get to essentially the nitty gritty of it, and I'll show you how it won't really apply to the normal situation. And secondly, I can guarantee you that lawsuits are being prepared as we speak right now to file against Trump, that he doesn't have the authority to merely shut down immigration, and that even if he did, his reasoning shows no correlation between what he claims and what the reality is. So it is likely in a very short period that some district court somewhere will issue a nationwide injunction against this going forward while the merits is continuing. So minus that, first of all, it only applies to people coming in the US. So if you're already in the US, and for example, you have to renew your green card, you have to file for adjustment, you have to do anything that would require you to change status or adjust status inside the US, is not going to affect you. So you can go forward as is, minus the fact that a lot of the service centers and field offices are closed or limited, and that really is what's going to limit you from going forward, not the executive order. But doesn't apply if you're inside the US. It will be effective, or has been effective, since April 23rd. It's supposedly going to last 60 days, and then it can be renewed again depending on what happens. I just have to make a note here. The elections are coming November 4th. So if you know anyone who's a US citizen, or you are a US citizen, do your best to vote. And if enough people vote and get Trump out of office, then this attempt to villainize and scapegoat immigrants will certainly come to an end anyways. So, minus the facts of what I'm telling you as to, how it doesn't apply and what the ramifications of this are, the most important thing you can do is get people to get down and vote. No matter if we can't do the mail-in votings because Trump was going to try to stop that, or whether they have to wait in line for hours. Every vote counts in order to essentially get our democracy back, to stop the scapegoating against immigrants, and to move forward with the United States like it should be, and to rebuild our world stature. Okay, that's my political opinion right there. So, back to the specifics of this particular order. So, the question then is, if you're outside the United States, will it apply to you? And let's say you're thinking about applying for an employment based green card, or you're in the middle of the process. It takes a very long time in which to properly do an employment petition. There's just right off, there's the perm that takes 6 months to a year, the I-140 takes another year, and then the consulate processing takes another year. And depending what preference you are, there's going to be waiting in between the I-140 and the consulate processing for years, sometimes until the visa number becomes current. So uh, if you're in the process, there is no need to stop. There is no need to wait. If you are going to start the process, there's certainly no need, because for sure, whatever and however it may apply to you will not apply once it gets to the consulate. So realistically, um, it applies only to the people who essentially already have done all this, have the interview, and are ready to go to the interview. Those are the only people it applies. And by the way, it doesn't apply to asylum or any related asylum petition either. So it's really a very small group that this applies to. It just gives the impression that it applies to everybody and all immigrants, which is what Trump tries to do. So um, the thing is now, if you do have an interview and you think you are subject to this, then you still should try to go to the interview. And if they stop it because of this, then there's action that could be taken. There's all kinds of lawsuits that could be filed, that it is an abuse of power, that it exceeds the authority, that it shouldn't apply in your particular case. But we can't go to court for you in particular until you are denied or kicked out of the consulate because of it. Okay, you have to be damaged in some way in order to go forward. So hopefully this clears up some of the ambiguities of this particular law. And the bottom line with this executive order is it has a lot more bark than bite. That's the reality. And it's meant to scare, it's meant to put fear. But once you look at it and analyze it a bit, it's not all it's cracked up to be. So if you do have more questions on it, just feel free to give my office a call. I'll see what we can do. And if you want to proceed forward, you just let me know. If you like the video, click like, subscribe, and more on the coming videos. Thank you.